Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is a refutation of the Jesus of Muhammad show by Sam Shamoun and David Wood. And we're dealing here with certain issues, and this is related to Sauda and the wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and whether he was mistreating her, and we're gonna deal with it in different stages. But again, I want to tell people that if you are an emotional person who does not want to think and is just led by emotion and lives in a dream type of world, then maybe this it's better for you to turn off this video. But if you do want to seek truth and you want to put your brain in motion and to function and to look at the realities of life and look at proofs, and then please watch. I do want to point out something which is very important. We did talk about the methodology of studies that Christians apply, usually missionaries, to Islam. And we have to really, I want to start with this, and we have to make something very, very important here known. And this is something that will help you in dealing with anything when you're dealing with God. So please pay attention. This is a deep point. Now, you have to see that we've proven in previous videos that Christian missionaries and people in general, it is not really a problem that they have issues, such small issues that attacking Prophet Muhammad in his intimate life, his marriage life, and so on and so forth. There's bigger problems and that is that they have an issue with God Himself, right? They can never understand Islam, certain controversial topics, women's rights, and marriage and divorce in Islam, and jihad, and many things that they themselves, such issues are present in their own books, as we have shown before, and people have always pointed out to them. So people in general actually have a problem with God. Why? Well, think about this. Were you to ever have a problem with God if God would tell you, for example, that you have to cover? If you know 100% that you have to cover your hair, for example, a woman. Because today women will say, well, Muslim women are oppressed. Their husbands oppress them. They have to cover their head. They don't have freedoms. But I ask these women, Christian women, and many other women who believe in God, if you would know 100% that this is the word of God and God's commandment for you to cover, would you not obey it? Would you put your mind above God and say, this is oppression, why do I have to cover my hair? Look at the man, he doesn't have to cover his hair. Why do I have to cover my hair? So the issue when people have questions about Islam, why you guys don't do this, why you guys do that, why you guys, so many questions, right? The question, why did Prophet Muhammad marry Aisha? Why did this happen? Why this jihad here? And the Prophet Muhammad, killed these Jews and so on and so forth. People don't have, they have actually a problem with accepting, right? We have to think about it. You cannot dismiss a faith based on such arguments. Why? Well, because if this faith would be the truth, if there's proof for it that it's the truth, you cannot say, I just don't agree with these orders. God ordered me to wear hijab. God ordered me not to eat pork. God ordered me this and that, and there's jihad, and Prophet Muhammad did this and that. This is not something that you can dismiss it on. I'll give you an example, right? And that's why I always say that Sam and David take their heads to be above God. The example of Prophet Abraham alayhi salam. Prophet Abraham, he has this son, and his name is Ishmael and Isaac, and there's the whole debate over this. But Isaac and Ismail, and we'll go based on one of his sons that he loved so much. One day, God tells him in a dream that he has to sacrifice his son. So Abraham takes his son to the sacrificial place. Now we have to think about it. Can you imagine God telling you, 100%, God comes to you, you're in Abraham's shoes, you're a prophet. And God comes to you and you've been waiting for the son so long to have a son. And finally God blesses you with a son and you think it's the biggest blessing on you. And all of a sudden, God tells you have to not just, do something, but actually slaughter him. Take a knife and cut his neck. So what does Abraham do? And this is recorded in the Bible, the Quran. And I'll kind of go from the Quran version because Abraham did not question God, did not say, "Oh God, why this doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you give me a son, and then you tell me to kill him for you. This doesn't make sense." You know, same like a lot of the arguments in Islam. What God gives you hair, and then tells you to cover it, not to show it. Oh, that's oppression, right? Think about it. It's something very deep. Can you imagine yourself from God telling you to go and sacrifice your own son? And what does in the Quran say? They were there on the rock. His knife is at the neck. And when they both submitted, they've listened to God. Even though it makes no sense whatsoever that he has to kill his own son. For what? There's no reason even he didn't give him. Except the obedience. He tested him in his obedience for God. And he told him, sacrifice him for me. And when he was about to sacrifice, they both submitted fully to God. And they say, "This is now think about it. Not just Abraham submitting. This is his son is telling him obey God and what God told you." Can you imagine? Some son would be like calling 911 and saying, "No, my dad he's crazy." Think about it. Just think how that would sound. It would sound ridiculous. People would say, "Oh my God, this is nuts. Wow, this cannot be from God." But they would just be putting their minds above God. So Abraham submitted. He submitted to God. And when they both submitted, that's when God stopped. And many other things, the story of Khidr and Moses in the Quran, right? When he puts, a hole through the boat, he kills the boy, Khidr kills the boy. And Moses just doesn't understand. To him, it makes no sense. This is wrong. But then at the end, we see the wisdom behind certain rulings that to us, they might seem like weird at the beginning. People, like Sam and David, oh, this happens and that happens. Oh, wait, this cannot be from a prophet. This cannot be from God. This is a bad religion. Their God is Satan, blah, blah, blah. So this is a rational and deep point. You cannot dismiss God based on such arguments. That's why I'm trying to, go into someone's private life and his wife's and how he interacted with him, his divorce or whatever, happened in his life, and then they say, "Oh, look at what he did. This cannot be a prophet." Because that's so superficial. What if there's a deep reason behind it? What if there's a deep, and there is a deep reason, and this is beyond the scope of our purpose, but I do want to inform people that there is Brother Islamic Responses who has posted almost a complete series of the life of the Prophet Muhammad and the explanation of certain events in his life, and to learn really what and how and his marriages and his battles and why these things happen, not just from Orientalist point of view, from Sam and David, but from Muslim scholars, and to really pay attention, not just let your heart when you hear first thing. This is so superficial. This is, as humans, we jump to hasty conclusions and make wrong decisions right away. Everyone has to agree to that. But when we sit down and carefully examine proof and evidence for a second, third, fourth time, we see that things are not as they seem to be. There's a depth, there's a reason behind something, behind something. So let's not be that hasty, but be more deep and actually go into such things and look at them. So I do hope that people can go to Brother Islamic Response and see the seerah, and Google or go on YouTube. There's many series of seerahs of life of Prophet Muhammad, an explanation of events and what happened and why, the reasoning behind, for example, his marriages, right, that Sam and David always bring up. So we will start this series with talking about Sauda. And first, what we're going to do is we're going to actually refute, and we're going to see the distortion of the missionaries of certain words, key words, and the ridicule, the language that they use, the ridicule, and that for someone who doesn't know Islam, doesn't understand, doesn't know the Arabic, the methodology of the study, doesn't know how to gather the hadith and the proofs, and just sees copying and pasting, they will have a problem with that. So we have to actually go into the tafsir, the ayats, which we will do, and really analyze the proof that Sam and David give. So please follow up with the next videos.